In this tutorial, we're going to create the textures for our VR asset. Alright, so we're inside of Substance Painter. If you want, you can go ahead and import the low poly asset that you've created, or you can just open up this project file. Let me go ahead and save that out so that way you can open this. Okay, and I'm going to save that under the Substance Painter files, and it's going to be 16_begin. And there we go. So we have our asset in, and now what we would need to do is we need to bake out our textures. So I'm going to go up to my texture set settings, and I'm going to scroll down, and you'll see additional maps, and I'm going to say bake textures. First thing that we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll change our output size on this, and seeing how I've set my document to use 4096 by 4096, I'm going to go ahead and do that on the output size for all of these maps. You'll notice that we get these warning symbols, and that means that we have not set up the high definition mesh. So let's go ahead and open that here. So here is the chandelier_hp.fbx, and I'm going to hit open. And so now those warnings have all disappeared. And you can come in and you can bake out all of these maps, or you can just bake out certain ones. That's up to you. So by all means, go for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep all of these. I definitely need the ID mask and ambient occlusion, curvature, position, and thickness. I may not need those, but we have some substances that you could use that utilize those maps. So it's totally up to you on what you would like to do. So if you're finished with this portion, you'll need to set up just a couple of things. The anti-aliasing is going to be 1, so I know that I'm going to bake these out for the final map, so I'm going to use subsampling 8x8. I'm also going to go down to my normal map. There are no parameters there or world space normals, but there are in the ID. We want to set up what colors are going to bake out, and I'm going to say material color because that's set up for my high poly mesh, and then we're going to leave it at hue shift. Ambient occlusion, you can set up the values that you want for this, but I'm going to leave it as default. Same thing with curvature, position, and thickness. So now at this point, all you need to do is just simply hit Bake Textures and give that just a moment to bake those out. Alright, so once those have baked out, you should see the normal map apply itself to the low resolution mesh. You should also see your textures in the textures section. So you see the ambient occlusion, color map, curvature, normal map, position, thickness, and world space, if you've baked all of those out. So once all of those are in, you can begin the process of texturing. And because we have that color map that we've baked out, it makes things very, very easy. Now there might be a couple of things that you'll want to do to kind of help with the overall performance of Substance Painter. For one thing, keep quality at around medium. If you are ready to do high quality just for preview purposes, I would go ahead and bump it up then. But that's really all you'll need there. Alright, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and add a new group. And this group I'm going to go ahead and call porcelain or ceramic, whatever you want to call it. And with this group, I'm going to go ahead and mask out everything that I need. So I'm going to create a new mask, and for some reason that's going off the top of the screen, but the mask that we want to use it's called Add Mask with Color Selection. And you'll see that it's automatically bringing in my ID mask, and now we just need to pick what color this is going to be. So to pick the color, simply click Pick Color. You can pick it from the 3D view or the 2D view, totally up to you. And I'm going to pick the red color. So now everything that I put in this is only going to be applied to that area. So let's add a new fill, and we're going to put that inside of our group. And then with that fill layer selected, let's go ahead and try this one more time. Let's select it. For some reason, my click is all off here. Let's try this one more time. Here we go. For some reason it's shifting on this. Let's take a quick look, see what we can do to help that. Alright, so with that fill layer selected, you can come in and you can choose a number of different materials that you would like. I'm going to go ahead and just change the base color to kind of a bright white. And you'll see that that's only being applied to those areas. Let's do the same thing. Let's create one more group. And let's make sure that this group is outside of that group. There we go. And let's call this iron. And I'm going to add a mask with the color selection. We'll pick the color that we want, and I'm going to use that green color. And then we'll add a fill layer inside of that group. Not sure why Substance Painter is doing that, but so we're going to add our fill layer where it needs to be. Okay. And then that fill layer, we're going to type in metal in our search. And you can use any one of these metals that you like. I think this metal iron might be pretty good, but it's got some rivets and things like that, so I don't want that. Maybe just this metal iron rusty or lead rough. I think I like the lead rough. I don't want it to be, real rusty looking. Again, even with textures, you don't want to have a lot of noisy detail because it's not going to show up that great inside of VR. And so those are just a couple of things to think about with your textures. So make them smooth and make them clean. We'll do this one more time, and we'll add another group. Take this group outside. And we're going to call this copper. And let's add a mask to that using the color selection. And you can see how easy it makes this whole process. Let's choose the blue color, as that is going to be the copper. And then we're going to add another fill layer inside of that. Drag that fill layer inside of your group. And then we're going to use that copper. Now there are a couple of different copper values you can use. There's this high gloss copper, but I want a brushed copper. Let's see if we can find that here. There we go, metal brushed. And then that's going to assign itself to that area. And then all we have left beyond that is going to be the globe. So the globe is going to be a little bit different. Let's go ahead and create a group for it. And let me drag this outside. And the globe, what we're going to do is we're going to use an opacity map to kind of fake transparencies. Now, there's no transparent material or glass material that we can use here inside of Substance Painter at the time of this recording, but I'll kind of show you a way that we can work around this. So let's add our mask with color selection, and we're going to choose that orange color. And then what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and add a new layer. And I'm not going to do a fill layer. Let's actually do, well, let's see, trying to think about this. Let's do, let's go ahead and add a fill layer. Make sure we add that to the correct folder. Let's give that folder an actual name here. And I'll call this globe. You can even call it glass if you like. And so with that, let's make sure that we have our opacity map added to this. So here in your extra maps, you can see that I have an opacity map here. And I've just gone ahead and I've added that in to the scene. Now I've also added in specular. So I really don't need the color for this. And I don't even need the height. Just need spec and opacity. Let's keep roughness and metal out of this. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do roughness on that. Let's leave spec out of it, because I'm thinking about the rest of the texture and how it's going to be applied as a material later on, and it's going to be using the metalness workflow, so we want to make sure that we are using that. So metalness and roughness. So with this, let's set our opacity down, and you'll notice that it begins to make that globe transparent. Now you can still see it, and again, this is just to kind of fake things out a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the roughness. Let me take this way down so that way we get a nice shiny reflective material on this. And you can see how we faked that pretty easily. Now what I want to do is I want to add just a paint layer to this. Now what the paint layer is going to do is it's going to allow me to kind of smudge up the glass. I don't want it to appear pristine or anything like that. I just want to give it a couple of accents to that. Okay, make it look like actual glass, not just nice and pristine. So with the smudges, we can come in and we can start to paint in things like this mold pattern. Might be pretty good. So I can come in and I can just start to kind of paint that on. Now, actually, before I start painting that, let me hit Control Z one time. Let's make sure we turn off the proper channels for this. So color and height, roughness and metalness, I don't need that. Oop, I do need roughness. I'm going to take the opacity, and so I'll also add color, and I'll leave it white. On the roughness, I want it to not be completely rough. I want it to have a little bit of a specular highlight to it. And then the opacity, we're going to make this set to maybe around 0.4. We'll do just a couple of quick tests of this. Take my brush size down. And I just kind of want to paint this in on that material and see what we get. Now it is going to take just a little bit to update that, so just be patient with it. We've got a lot of materials going on. So you can see how it doesn't allow that to be completely clear. And so it gives me the result that I'm looking for. I like that. Okay, so we can kind of spread that throughout a little bit. And you're probably going to get most of your smudges like around the base, because people are going to be touching that, and it's not going to be crystal clear. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the way that's looking right now. And so what we can now do is we can go ahead and export out our maps and get this ready inside of 3ds Max and getting it all together. Now we can add some more details to this if we like. Let's say perhaps on the porcelain you want to create some sort of marking. I'm totally okay with doing that. I might even break up just that white color altogether. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a particle brush, and I'm going to use the vines. Switch the color to kind of a brownish color. So maybe something kind of like this. Try to get a little bit more gold in there. Maybe something like that. And then turn off opacity. I don't need that. I don't need height, roughness, or anything. Just color and roughness. And then I want to make sure that it has a high gloss, just like the ceramic. And then I'll just come in and I'll start to just paint in here. And you'll see how it starts to create this really neat looking pattern. And we'll just spread that out. So it kind of breaks up just that white look there. And you might be wondering, okay, where did this pattern idea come from? I've seen ceramics like this before, where they just kind of have these colors spread throughout it. And so I thought it was kind of a neat way of breaking it up. I think it looks pretty good. So just painting on the porcelain edges here, and then I know that I can come in and do the same thing around the base of this. And if you want to leave that white, you're more than welcome to. But I'm just going to paint on those edges. And because we have all of this masked out, we don't have to worry about it painting on the wrought iron. Just taking another quick look, adding some more of that color, and looking good. So now the final step is to go ahead and export out these textures whenever we're ready for this. And so I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to export the textures. You want to choose what kind of configuration you're looking for. In this case, I want to use the Unity 5, and I want to use the roughness metallic on this. So standard metallic. And let's see, we're going to use the albedo, metallic, normal, and emission. If we wanted to add the opacity, we can do that as well. So all you'll need to do is just set up the configuration for this. And so to add an additional map, let's go ahead and take a look here. Let's go to Unreal. And I believe this first one is the metallic. Let me go ahead and spread that out some. Yep. So we need to add something else to this. It's got the emission in there. I don't need emission. If you want to add a new preset, you can go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, actually let's duplicate that. So let's select it and then duplicate it. And let me remove this old one. Let me get rid of the emission. I don't need that for this particular map. I've got my metalness, smoothness, and I just need to create a gray channel for this. And let me tell it what I need out of this. Let's take the opacity. We're going to drag and drop that on here. Oh, actually, the opacity is right here. I didn't realize that. Okay, let's take that out. So we've got our opacity, we've got a metallic base color. The normal map is also going to be projected out. Yeah, so I think that's everything that we'll need for this. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and just go to Export. And we're going to say, oops, so let's make sure that we set up the copy. There we go. And then we're going to tell it where we want these textures to export to. So under Project Files, I'm going to put this in the Textures Files folder and select that. And then I'm going to use Targa 8-bit Max. And then all we need to do now is just simply hit Export. It'll take just a moment to do that. It doesn't take very long at all. And then what we'll do next is we'll bring these textures in, and we'll bring those into 3ds Max. And we need to do just a little bit of work to finish out the asset, and then we'll bring that back into our VR room and we'll test it out.